Hey, how's it going, everyone? Good morning. Hope everybody is doing fantastic. Dean Kulaweera here. Thanks so much for tuning in. Feel free to introduce yourself in the comments, folks. Let me know if you can see me and hear me okay. Got a fantastic, very special segment today with my friend Felipe Toledo, who I'm gonna be having join us soon, and we're going to be talking how to land employment at big consulting firms. All right, so we're not just talking about that, but because Felipe has a very unique career journey and things that he's been through to get to where he is today. So I'm going to definitely have him talk about and share his story. So again, don't be shy, folks. Feel free to introduce yourself in the comments. If this is your first time tuning in, hey, I appreciate you tuning in. Again, my name is Dean Kulaweera. So I post a lot of job search related content and articles and videos and a whole bunch of stuff. And one thing I really like is bringing on special guests that have a lot of value that they can share from their own career journeys, right? Because all of us folks, we have our own unique career journeys, right? When we're building up our careers, going ahead and conducting our job search, the results that we see in our job search, and all that stuff. So today, again, my special guest, who I'm going to bring out shortly, is Felipe Toledo. All right. So let me give you a heads up a bit more about Felipe. So Felipe is a project management. So his background is, he's someone very much an expert in project management, supply chain, business analysis, and he's someone who has, again, like I mentioned, a pretty unique career journey in the sense that he started out in supply chain and procurement and is currently in project management. And not only, folks, not only did he land himself a job at a big consulting firm, but he did it as a newcomer to Canada and also as someone transitioning from an entirely different field, right? So he's currently a program and project management analyst at Accenture. And I'm going to bring on Felipe shortly, and I'm going to have him share his story, right, in terms of how did he do what he did. Like, how do you get a job? How do you stand out at a large consulting firm? How do you transition from a totally different space into a different area? And how do you do this as a newcomer, right? So Felipe did all three of these things, which is pretty amazing and fantastic. So feel free to introduce yourself in the comments, folks, and make sure you give a warm welcome to Felipe, who I'm going to add to the stream right now. Felipe, thank you so much for your time, and it's a great to have you on the stream, my friend.
Thank you, Jim, for inviting me for this webinar. It's a great pleasure being here with you and with your audience here. I'm really looking forward to sharing my experience, and hopefully it will help the folks that are looking for a job here in Canada, especially for those that are looking for a job in a consulting company like Accenture.
Awesome. And thanks again, Felipe. And so another thing I forgot to mention, Felipe, is that Felipe is also the founder of the North Project Managers, which is a group that helps, provide support, great sessions. I was actually invited as a speaker as well to this amazing, wonderful group. And it's for project managers or those who have an interest in management for the Brazilian community here in Toronto. It's a great group, and we're going to be talking about mentorship later on. But Felipe, if you can give a brief introduction about who you are to the viewers tuning in, and folks tuning in, make sure you give a shout out to Felipe in the comments as well. So Felipe, yeah, if you can tell everyone a bit more about yourself, like in terms of
Sure.
who you are.
Yeah, I'll try to summarize a little bit here because
Sure.
whenever I talk about my career, I talk with passion because I
Right.
really like the way that I build that, and it really makes sense for me. So I started working right after starting my studies in my first year at university as a freshman. I landed my first trainee position, so I could start working even before having contact with the academic world, which was awesome to me. I was working for at the same time that I was getting my bachelor in commerce. I was working for the Arab Brazilian Chamber of Commerce. It was a little bit more related to diplomacy than commerce itself, but
Right.
anyway, it was a great experience. I was able to connect um, vendors or buyers that wanted to exchange their products among Brazil and the Arab countries. And I was improving the commercial relationship between those countries through, those international fairs, through some services that we provided in that company. But anyway, as I said, that was part of a diplomacy field, something completely different from what I was doing 1 year after that, when I landed my first job in supply chain, I was still studying in my second year university. So I landed that job in a airline company. So I started working in logistics, importation, exportation, cargo consolidation. I was bringing to the company all the spare parts that they use for maintenance, for any repair for their aircrafts. And then right after that, I was promoted to another position as a international buyer. I was responsible for buying those spare parts, not only the logistic side of that operation, but also the negotiation, all that fun part of the procurement procurement field. So I was able to negotiate with Airbus, Boeing, Fokker, all
Oh
those
wow.
big companies. It was a really fun time. I could also visit some factories, um, and to check the operations, to see what we could improve as a, being a buyer, and the salary, what they could do for me differently, so I could see any better benefit for my company. So anyway, that was my first chunk of career in supply chain. Uh, and I confess that I was getting a little bit bored at some point because I was doing some bureaucracy all the time.
Right.
Importation requires lots of paperwork, and then I decided to open a little bit more my career. So I changed it from a purchasing department for spare parts to another purchasing department for onboarding services. So basically, I was buying everything that we use to put in our flights, from food to equipment that we use for the first class, business class, economic class. And that was a time change for me. That was a great moment because I understood what was customer experience. I was
Right.
not only buying stuff, negotiating that, but I was implementing that. I was seeing the whole chain, like what the perception at the end of that chain, what the customers were perceiving after that implementation. So that was the first moment that I was working like with supply chain, providing
Right.
products, and I was working with projects. I was implementing those projects. So I got interested in that field, and then I started studying a little bit more. As I didn't have a lot of experience in project management, I was
Mhm.
looking for some ways to improve my knowledge and the things that I was doing at that moment. And I got a point that I needed to decide: am I doing a MBA, a post graduation in project management? Am I getting a certification? And then I realized that as I didn't have much experience at that point, I needed to get a academic graduation to be able to improve my services, and then later on get my certification. But anyway, that was the first transition moment in my career.
Right.
Right after working as this international buyer for onboarding services, where I had to work with QA as well, quality assurance. At the same time, I
Uh-huh.
was buying, I was checking all the chain. I was also working with continuous improvement, customer experience as a whole, and then I shift once again. I changed the department, and I was now working for the crew, pilots and
Okay.
flight attendants.
Oh wow. Okay.
So I had a whole different audience. I had a whole different public. I wasn't leading with, our customers, regular customers. I was leading with our internal customers. And then that was a really really fun time for me because I was able to apply that what I was learning at the university when I was getting my MBA in project management.
Right.
So right after that, I finally decided to come to Canada because I was like, I think I can go further in my career. I think I
Yeah.
can learn more, because the whole thing about my career at the beginning when I decided to go for supply chain is that I wanted to learn and other languages, and I wanted to have that contact with different cultures. So this final step, this final decision to come to Canada was, my um, was something that was planned since the beginning of my career. Since I started my first year at university, I knew everything that I wanted to do. So
Oh wow.
it wasn't hard to make that decision.
Okay, okay.
And then finally here in Canada, as a newcomer, I needed to, started from the beginning. I needed to go to the college to start studying once again, be able to have a visa permit here in Canada. And I would say that through my co-op, I was able to get a really good job here. I was working as a consultant for this marketing branding company, and that
Okay.
gave me a good experience here, that Canadian experience that everyone asks for when you are looking for a job here in Canada. And then right after concluding that co-op, I finally landed my first official job here in Canada at Accenture.
Wow,
Um,
amazing.
yeah,
Amazing. So yeah, and thanks for sharing that. So already, and folks, I don't know about you folks, but I've been kind of taking a bit of notes here. But two things I've learned so far from Felipe is number one, Felipe, from what I'm seeing and what I'm hearing, you had a clear idea of your target, like what you wanted to do and where you wanted to go. That's the first takeaway I got. Second takeaway is it seems like you've transitioned a couple of times. By the time you reached the point that you were here in Canada, so you have experienced this previously as well. So I guess that gave you some practice on how to do these transitions into different careers and different fields, and ultimately get to where you want to be in your career. Like that. That's my main takeaway so far. So again, thanks so much for sharing your overall journey. Just we got some shout outs from the viewers. So we got, I think this is my friend Imal says, this is very relevant for business analysts. I hope we have some BAs here to listen and learn about how to land a role with consulting companies. Hey, awesome, Imal. Yeah, Imal is very much into business analysis. So thanks for tuning in, Imal. I think we got some Portuguese over here. So we got Alessandro. He
yeah.
says, Oi, Felipe. I don't know how to pronounce the second word. How do you say that?
Parabéns.
Parabéns. What does that mean?
Congratulations.
Oh, congratulations. Awesome. So, yeah, Alessandro, good to have you here. Thanks so much for tuning in. We got Ahmed who says, Greetings. Hey, good to have you here, Ahmed. We got Elham who says, Hi, all. Always good to have you here, Elham. Thanks for tuning in. We got Gurpreet who says, Hi, Dean and Felipe. Good to have you here, Gurpreet. Thanks so much for tuning in. So, Felipe, I mean, kind of moving on to being a newcomer to Canada, right? What were some of your greatest challenges, and how did you overcome those challenges?
Well, I'd say that the first huge challenge that we have as newcomers here to Canada is the fear.
Yeah,
We fear everything because we don't know what we need to expect for. We don't know this new country. We don't know the culture. We don't know anything about it. So it's totally different from what we are used to. And a good way to kind of overcome this fear, which is the biggest challenge for me, it's keeping the focus. Whenever you fear, you'll see that your thoughts will go around. You will start
yeah,
thinking and lots of things, but you need to keep your focus. And another thing that we need to overcome is the cultural differences that we have here in Canada. um, I know that for each country, different country, the cultural difference is a little bit different for sure. Uh, but at the same time, we need to take advantage of the programs that we have available for us as newcomers here to Canada. A good example is a organization called TRIAC,
try it.
Toronto Region Immigrant Employment Council. They provide a number of services to the community, to newcomers. They they have mentoring programs. They have some interesting programs that can kind of help you to understand what is the job market, how is the job market here in Canada, how does that work, how should I tailor my resume, how should I tailor my cover letter, what should I do to be better among those that are looking for a job here as well. So, and this is just an example. There is
Yeah,
another good example. We have Access Employment. We have a number of organizations that can help the newcomers. And even the organization that I created, the North Project Managers, we now help newcomers as well in a interesting way. I know that we'll talk about the
Yeah.
North project manager later on, but just to give you a little bit of idea what we are doing. For example, we have a mentoring program, which is really important for our community, for all newcomers, but I mean for the North project managers members, because all of the mentors, they are Brazilian, and they have lots of experience here in Canada for a while. They've been living here for a while, all of our mentors. So they know all the cultural problems or issues that we face whenever we come to Canada, and they
Yeah.
are able to provide more, you know, advise our mentees in a way that they can assimilate what they had before, their experience, their background, whatever they have before coming to Canada, they can better assimilate with this new culture, because the mentor most of the time knows the issues that that mentee is facing. It's a little bit different this mentorship from the others that we have here, especially because of that point. We have Brazilian people talking to Brazilian people, and then they are sharing the same issues.
Yeah.
And I would suggest, this group is just for Brazilian project managers living here in Canada. But as I mentioned, there is this group TRIAC. They have other organizations that are associated to them, like my organization is associated to TRIAC, and they have different focus as well. We have doctors from Africa, a group from
Mm.
a specific group for Latin project managers, for Latin accountants. So there is any groups that you can look for when you try to find a similar group like mine, and that can help you with the challenge that you possibly face here in Canada.
Okay, great advice there. So basically, folks, what Felipe is saying is, hey, look, a good place to start is your own community, right? So look at your own community, like what groups exist for your community locally here in Toronto, right? I'm in Toronto, so I'm using Toronto as an example. But hey, whatever city, Montreal, Vancouver, San Francisco, New York, like wherever you're moving to, folks, like look at like what presence does your community have in that area. That's always a good place to start, and you're going to be surrounded by people who have been where you have been, right? That's basically what I guess that's what you're saying, Felipe, right?
Yeah,
So start with your community.
and more than that, Jim, I've heard some people say, yeah, but I don't think there is, like, for example, an Indian organization for project managers. And what I usually answer is, why don't you start something? Why don't you create a community that you can put together those guys that you need, you are looking forward to networking, to getting some insights from that community. So we start by ourselves.
Okay, great. Yeah, excellent advice there. We got some more comments here. We got Sai, who also says parabens. Again, from Sai Krishna.
Okay.
Good to have you, Sai. So I think by the end of this segment, all of us will know some Portuguese, or at least that's my hope. Alessandro says, thank you, Dean. Hey, no worries, my friend. Good to have you here. And we got Suzeli Pacheco, who also says, parabens, Felipe. Awesome. Good to have you here, Suzeli. Thanks so much for tuning in. So, Felipe, I mean, what are some typical mistakes that you have seen newcomers to Canada make upon arrival? Because obviously in your group, TNPM, you probably interact with a lot of newcomers. So, what are some typical mistakes you see newcomers make when they're new to Canada? And what's your like? How can newcomers to Canada avoid these mistakes?
Well, I think that the first and the most important, or the biggest mistake that most of the community make when they come to Canada, is the lack of focus. And I would say that particularly for the Brazilian community, because here in Canada, we kind of learn that we need to be specialists in something in order to land a job here. Let's say I'm a specialist in supply chain, so I'll be looking for those positions, and I need to tailor all my everything that I need to land that job, like my resume, my LinkedIn, my cover letter. And what happened for the Brazilian community is that most of the time we have multiple skills, and we have worked in different departments.
Yeah.
Like you can tell by my career path that I've worked with supply chain, but I've also shifted to project management at some point.
Mm.
So we need to make sure that whenever we come to Canada, we have a focus. We will be working with supply chain. We will be working with project management. What is the field? What is the industry? Uh, and then after deciding, after making that decision where to go, so this is the time where you need to um, start, doing the real job, looking for the work. Otherwise, you'll be applying for a number of jobs, different titles, different industries, different fields, and maybe you'll be perceived as not a specialist, but as a generalist. And we don't want companies to see us like as generalists here in Canada.
Yeah.
Is it different, totally different from Brazil. Um, and another thing that we need to, most of people, those mistakes that people make when they come to Canada for the first time, they rely solely on their previous experience and on their academic background. That's not enough to tell the whole story when you are trying to find a job here.
Mm.
You need more than that. You need to know how to um, a skill that they call here storytelling. You
Yeah.
need to make sure that you know what is the problem with that company,
Yeah.
why
Yeah.
they are hiring for that position, and you need to make sure that you are telling the right story according to your experience and academic background, and you will be able to solve that problem for that company. So most of the time, I would say that we are Brazilian the Brazilian community is not telling that story when they come at first to Canada, and they don't know that they need to do that
Yeah.
because we are used to just applying for positions online, like Indeed and Monster.com, all those websites. We do have some similar websites back in Brazil, and we just needed to apply online and be invited to an interview, and then once you pass the interview, you are done,
Mm.
which is a little bit different from here.
Yeah.
In order to be invited for that interview, you need to work a little bit harder, and not only applying online, because that won't guarantee that you'll find a job. You need to do much more. You need to improve your networking. You need to make sure that you are prepared for the job interview. you
Mm.
need you need to make sure that you know everything is aligned with the local culture, not only what you have what you had with your previous culture.
Fantastic advice there, Felipe. And I especially like how you mentioned. Well, a couple of things I really like you mentioned is you spoke about the importance of focus, and this is something I can attest to as a recruiter. Like I speak to so many candidates as a recruiter, and I definitely see this, Felipe. And by the way, not just with newcomers, but at least even people who are not new to the country, where they're the clarity about what they want to do and what jobs they want to consider is kind of missing. And folks, you have to, like, it's up to you to decide on which direction you want to take, right? It's not that recruiters don't care, it's not that hiring managers don't care. It's just that it's your job to figure out what you want to focus on. And just like Felipe is saying, and I totally agree with it, you have to know what you want. You got to focus on those areas that you want to get into. So great advice there, Felipe. Definitely agree with that. So kind of moving on the discussion, what are your thoughts, Felipe, on survival jobs? So, and those of you tuning in, you're not sure what I'm talking about when I mean survival jobs. Basically, you're new to the country, you're still job searching for what you want, but you need something to pay the bills, put food on the table, put a roof over your head. So, Felipe, my question for you is, what are your thoughts on getting survival jobs? Like, is that something people should do, or should they only 100% stay focused and only focus on whatever their field is, and the jobs that they really should be getting?
Well, that's a really good question. Um, and I would say, do it. Get a survival job. We need to pay our bills. We need to pay for our studies. We need to pay for everything
Yeah.
while we are not working on our field. Me, myself, as a newcomer to Canada, I also worked some survival jobs. I worked in some restaurants. I worked in some events as a server, and that's not a shame for me. That's
Yeah.
actually something that I see as a positive thing, because I was able to get in touch with people from other industries that I possibly wouldn't have that conversation if if I wasn't, pursuing that survival job. And at the same time, I was learning lots of things because we have lots of newcomers in those survival jobs. They have different experiences, they have different thoughts, and they sometimes may help you with, your a regular job. I found lots of people that were managers, that were business analysts, and they
Wow.
were working those restaurants while, pursuing their or studying their on their college, or pursuing, trying to find their job in their field. And I think it's really worth it. It's really worth, and I see that with good eyes.
Yeah.
Yeah, today I didn't mention that I had some survival jobs during my presentation because that wasn't the scope.
Yeah.
But if I needed to mention that experience during any interview, I would do for sure. I will do it for sure. And you can tell me, Dean, as a recruiter, what is your thought on that? Is it a good thing that as a job seeker, I'm presenting all that I was working on some other field, a survival job, and then I tried to land a job, and then you got my resume. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, great question. So I mean, look, as a recruiter, like, and most recruiters out there, I think will be sympathetic to the fact that, hey, you know what, maybe the job is not in your field, but hey, we have to be practical, right? Like, you have to pay bills. You've got your expenses. Like, you can't just sit around and just wait for the right job to come along. So I definitely agree, Felipe, right? I mean, you got to do what you got to do. And but the thing is, if you, I mean, get the survival job, folks, if you have to, but don't give up on the dream, right? Don't give up on your target, right? And I'm sure that's what I'm sure you agree with me, Felipe, as well, right? Getting a survival job does not mean you quit on your job search and you quit on what you really want. It just means, hey, I need something right now to pay the bills, that I can, take care of my expenses, but I'm going to continue pushing for what I want. So definitely, as a recruiter, I don't see any issue with someone
Mhm.
getting a survival job, because hey, I mean, we all have expenses and things that we need to take care of.
Yeah, and I would say that when you are working in a survival job, you are actually working in two jobs, because first you are, trying to make your money to pay your bills in that survival job, but at the same time you have that role as a job seeker, which is a full-time job as well.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
So you need to be aware that it's demanding, and you have two jobs, sure, full-time jobs.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. It is a job in and of itself. I talk about this all the time, so I definitely agree with you, Felipe. So we have a quick question from my friend Alessandro, who's one of the viewers. So Alessandro says, "What do you recommend for those who are in Brazil? How can we get a Canadian job offer?" So any advice for Alessandro, Felipe?
Yeah, Alessandro, good question. Well, that group that I have, the North Project Manager, is just for project managers, Brazilian project managers who are living here in Canada. But I do know a number of other groups that also help other communities while they are not here. Like, for example, for the Brazilian community, we have the Network para Brasileiros, or Networking for Brazilian, which is a group that help those Brazilians that are still in Brazil or are here. And then you can start, creating your network. You need to know those people who are here in Canada, who is hiring, so you can do that, because right now you have the internet. You are, watching us anywhere in Brazil. So this is totally possible. And what I would suggest you right now with this pandemic, I would say there we don't have any more borders. We
Yeah.
can cross those borders, and you can find a job offer. But I would suggest you can also find a volunteer work, while you're not here in Canada. That volunteer work would possibly also bring you give you more connections. It will improve for sure your network and would put you closer to that job offer because you are already familiar with the environment here. We are getting to know some people here, and that would be helpful.
Okay.
It's not an easy task,
Yeah.
but definitely that's possible.
Okay, great. And another thing I wanted to add, and that's good advice, Felipe and Alessandro. Other thing I would advise to you, my friend, is start building your network right now, like right away. Start connecting with people who are in the industry over here that you want to get into, and start building your connections. Start making friends. Start making professional contacts, so that worst case scenario, you have to wait until you get here. Then by the time you get here, you have a strong network, right? So that would be my additional advice, Alessandro. But great question there. So we have some more questions, but I'll get to those shortly. But so speaking about transitioning, Felipe, so you transitioned from supply chain to currently being in project management. How did you manage this transition, and can you talk a bit more about that?
Yeah, sure. Um, I think that the first thing, as I mentioned before, is the focus. We need to have the focus. But the other thing that I would say, we don't need to be afraid of making decisions of changing our career path, especially because I think there is no ready recipe. Each individual has a different path,
Yeah,
uh, and that what makes everything better and everything so interesting for recruiters as well. So imagine all the supply chain specialists if they have had the same path. We
yeah,
wouldn't need a recruiter for us to talk about our career, our experience, because the recruiter would know about it. So um, have a plan, have a focus. Don't be afraid of making that decision. um, when I say there is no recipe, I mean you can for sure compare your career with other people that you think that would be a good path for you as well. But don't take that as a like obligation. I need to follow the same path. I
mhm,
need to land the same job position. I need to get the same certification or the same college or the same degree. I think this is you are to build that career and that transition as well. You need just to have that focus. And I mean, you probably won't have that focus at the beginning. You will have a sense like what you want to do, what are your feelings about that, uh, but then you can build that up with time. So you can like after taking, I don't know, a course or a certification, you notice that you need something else to pursue that other job that you are looking for, and then this is something that you need to add to your plan. So there is no fixed recipe, but you need to decide what you need to do. You need to keep that focus, and then the transition is like easy.
right, right. Now, Philip, if we can chat about this just a bit more, because I want to make sure the viewers are, because some of the viewers, they might be transitioning from a different field into a totally different field. Like so how did you position yourself like this? Because you're right now at a well-known, respected, you're at Accenture. How did you, so, and previously you were in supply chain, right, before you came here, and then they were able to see, hey, this guy Felipe, I mean, yeah, he's from supply chain, but we really see him as able to taking on this role in project management and program management, all that stuff. How did you communicate that to them? Like, is there any tips in regards to that? Like, how did you separate yourself from maybe other people that come from project management, but they decided to go with Felipe? So
Yeah,
any tips in regards to that?
um, I would say that I was lucky when I was looking for some for that transition here in Canada, because that project management position actually required some experience to supply chain.
Ah, okay, okay.
And we do have lots of transferable skills
Yeah.
that we can carry to any other industry or field. And this is something that I've seen in other with other people as well. There is another project manager who came to Canada, and he's part of this group TNPM, and he was like trying to transition as well, and he had this background supply chain like me and
Okay.
project management, and he was like, but I want to go to tech. I want to pursue something in a big consulting company which is specializing in IT. So he was pursuing a boot camp at that time, and then he got that degree in. He's a front uh, developer. I'm not sure if
Front-end
it's,
developer?
yeah.
Okay.
And then he got that boot camp done, and then he was able to land his first job offer just because the company needed someone who was able to develop that system,
Okay.
but that at the same time was able to manage the project and that knew about the supply chain processes.
Aha.
So he was also lucky because he found a position that required all of those skills. So I don't know if it's lucky the word. I think he just was able to join all the transferable skills in that position. I know that whenever you see a job description, there is some parts that is are requirements,
Yeah.
and there are some other parts that are good to have.
Yeah. Yeah.
And those good to have, this is the part that I found that this is very helpful for those that are transitioning, because if it's good to have, that means that you will stand out if you have those skills, as it happened to me and to my friend. So that was a good to have that we were able to to tell the right story and how we would solve that problem for that company, and then we landed those jobs.
Okay, so fantastic example here, right? And yeah, I mean, I'm not sure if I would call it luck, Felipe. I think that you
Yeah.
and your friend, I think both of you put in the time to really identify, these opportunities that where you would be able to leverage your previous knowledge and expertise in supply chain. And I definitely agree with, like, on those parts of the job description, folks, where it says preferred, optional or nice to have, or it's good to have or something like that. If you have the core skills plus you have the nice to have, that makes you stand out a lot, against other candidates who might not have the nice to have. So definitely agree with that. And the other takeaway from what you said, Felipe, is see how you can leverage your existing experience, right? If you're transitioning from a different field, and it looks like that's what you were able to really accomplish, Felipe, right? You were able to leverage your supply chain experience into this project management position that required, they were looking for someone who has the knowledge of supply chain. So I can now totally see, like, how you were able to leverage that. So that's amazing example right there. So now the other thing, and talking about you being at Accenture, I mean, you're obviously working at a well-known, large, I mean, highly competitive consulting firm, right? Accenture. And you were able to, get in front of them and apply for the job. Like, how did you do it? How did you manage to, stand out and get forget about the job. I mean, get the interview, right? Because there's hundreds and if not thousands of people probably applying for jobs at Accenture. So how for the viewer tuning in and they're like, okay, how do I, how do I get a job at a big consulting firm? How do I stand out? There's so much competition. How did you do that, Felipe? And what is your advice to other people that want to work at the big consulting firms such as Accenture?
Awesome. Yeah, I don't know if I have an answer for that.
Right.
How to land a job? That would be a 1 million answer. But
Yeah, yeah.
um when I started studying here at the George Brown College, already already had my focus. I knew that I wanted to pursue a career in a consulting company. So I started from there, and I was building my networking over there. I was contacting some people from those other consulting companies that I wanted to work for at that time. And I was like, hey, how is working for a consulting company? How is the daily life of a consultant?
Hmm.
What do you need to do to pursue that job, and things like that. And at the same time, I was working academically with all the professors that they had experience. They had their own consulting companies, and I was trying to absorb as much as I could from their experience. But at the same time, I was also creating that group, the North Project Managers,
Yeah. Yeah.
because I thought that by myself, I wouldn't be able to reach out to as many people as I could, like if I had that group.
Hmm.
So, for example, right now we have 500 people as members.
500. Wow, that's amazing.
500.
Congratulations, my friend. That's amazing.
So imagine I have a
Yeah.
500 networking here. I
Yeah.
can contact anyone to ask for help, to ask for any advice. Um, and then that was very helpful because in one of those sessions within for this group, I was talking about my experience, about my all the things that I commented here early in this webinar, and I said, okay, now I need to find someone that can help me, because I was told that we need to be very diligent while looking for a job.
Yeah.
What I need to do. So I realized that networking was essential, especially because for consulting companies as well, but I think that for other companies, not all uh, positions, not all job postings are published on their website. Some of the
Yeah.
positions are internally, and they are sometimes they find those people internally, or they get some referral from someone else and they don't publish those positions. And that's what exactly happened to me. There was someone else from that group, TNPM, that knew about my career experience, my academic background, everything about myself. And then that person uh, got to know about a position at Accenture. She was working at Accenture at that time,
Right.
and she was like, "Oh, I remember one person that has the supply chain, this project management experience, and he's graduating from George Brown College, a post
Oh, wow.
graduation in consulting." So that person remembered that we had a conversation early in that year, and then she contacted the hiring manager, and she told, hey, there is this guy here, Felipe. He knows everything about that position. He has all the experience. Why don't you talk to him?
Wow.
So I got that interview with the hiring manager.
Wow.
Even before talking to the recruiter. And then after this conversation with the hiring manager and the conversation with the recruiter, I was able to land my first. I was able to get my first job offer.
That's
But yeah, and I've seen that a lot. Lots of people that are looking for jobs, they just connect with each other, and then someone just get to know about one position, and there is this referral, and the person get the position. I think for me, this is the easiest way nowadays to land a job here in Canada. This is why most of the time I encourage everyone to improve their network. I think this is the most important thing.
fantastic. Yeah, I totally agree with that. And I think your story, I mean, is a perfect example of this, Felipe. Right? I mean, the fact that you had built your net, you started this group, you built the network, and this person you had spoken to remembered you. I mean, it just shows how important it is to network, and also network with the right people, and just build those and nurture those relationships. So definitely agree with that. So can you tell us a bit about any I know you mentioned networking as one of the great things that people can do, and you spoke about the important, like how you were able to land that as a result of this amazing mentoring group. So can you tell us a bit about TNPM? And then second part of the question, can you talk also about the benefits of being part of similar groups for the people who are watching?
Sure. So TNPM, or the North Project Manager, is a group of Brazilian project managers who live here in Canada. This is a not-for-profit organization. We have no funds, so all the work or all the services that we provide here is free of charge for our members. And we provided a number of services that are very important for newcomers and those who are here as well. Like, for example, we have a mentoring program that we mentioned before. We have a study group. So for project managers, certification is a really important thing here in Canada. So the study group is a opportunity for them to study together and pursue a certification. We have study groups for PMP. We are planning some study groups for Agile certifications as well in the future. In addition to that, we have boot camps. We have some live stream events. We have other events that are not able to take place right now because of the pandemic, but we had happy hours, we had roundtables, we had speed mentoring, a number of different services that are mainly intended to help our community. And all the services that we provide to this group is based on their own experience. And why I say that, because whenever they ask to join this group, we ask them a couple of questions to be able to see how is this group, what do we need to work with them. And then one of the first things that we noticed when we started the group is that not everyone had a certification, because back in our country that wasn't necessary at all.
Right.
But here it's very necessary. And then we started working with that group. I would say that from 50% of the people that didn't have certification at that time, I would say that 30% or more already have certification now because of the
Wow.
services that we are providing and the incentives and encouragement that we provide to our group members. And what is important, the second piece of your question, why this group is important for newcomers? This is important because, as I mentioned, other people that already walked the path that you are trying to walk right now, they are here to help with their experience. So they know how to, or they can help you to find how to do the things right when it comes to find a job here. Things that we are talking most of daily, I would say, like how to tailor the resume, what I need to put in my resume to be able to get a job interview, because now we know that we have the ATS, which is very challenging to go through the ATS. But this is not a something that we all know when we come here to Canada at first.
Yeah.
I personally, I didn't know what was ATS. I was like, hey, what is that? ATS.
Yeah.
This is just a matter of sending my resume. Why these people are talking about ATS? So
Yes. Yeah.
those simple things, they're very helpful. They seem to be like simple for us because we already know about it, but for those who are coming to Canada, this may not be so well known.
Mhm.
So yeah, and I think each group works differently. They have different services, but for sure, get in touch with those groups, get in touch with people who are participating in those groups is very important, because that's the way that you get to know how things work here in Canada.
Awesome, fantastic, fantastic advice there, and yeah, I mean, it's very important, folks, to be part of the right group, right? So, hey, if you're a member of the Brazilian community here in Toronto, or actually anywhere in Canada, right? Like, make sure you reach out to Felipe, join the group, folks. It's a great group. The North Project Managers. I actually was invited as a speaker once. Very friendly group. I felt really welcome. I almost felt like I was Brazilian. Only thing is I don't speak Portuguese, but it's a really friendly and nice group, and it's a great group to be a part of. If you're a member of the Brazilian community here in Canada, make sure you reach out to Felipe for more information on how to join the group. Now, Felipe, I know that you're currently hiring for some positions at Accenture. I mean, you're most welcome to talk about any positions, and anyone who's interested can reach out to you directly.
Yeah, actually, we are encouraged to refer people to those positions, especially those that are in high demand. I know that I have some folks working for IT, cloud, and other departments that they are struggling to find workers for that position.
Right.
So I will mention a number of fields here that I know the company is hiring for. If you have some experience in those fields, you can reach out to me. I'll be more than happy to talk to you. If you have the right skills, we can work on a referral, or I can guide you through how to apply for that position. Um, so let me see my list here. So currently they are hiring for analytics, applying intelligence, cloud first. Cloud first means that if you have experience with Azure, AWS, GCP infrastructure, data, and AI, full stack, customer development, digital marketing, transformation experience, design, Oracle, product management. What else? No, no, no. Supply chain, SAP, Salesforce, security, uh, tech strategy, and advisory. Those are some of the fields that they're looking for. I can share with you, Dean, or we can share on a post, or you can reply to the post on LinkedIn or any other platform with those fields. So people who are watching us right now, they can double check if they have experience, and they can um, contact me if they do.
Yeah, sure. Sounds good, Felipe. Thanks so much for sharing that. And look, folks, before we kind of start wrapping up, and I know there's more questions in the comments, so we'll get to the questions shortly. But hey, my takeaways from the conversation with Felipe is, and a couple of things that stood out is focus. You got to have focus. You got to know your target. Two is leverage your existing experience, right? If you're transitioning into a different field, leverage what you already have, and see if you can identify positions where you can leverage your existing knowledge, experience, and expertise. Third thing I'm seeing is be proactive. You can't depend only on applying online. You have to be proactive. You have to see what you can do beyond simply applying online. And the fourth thing is networking. Networking is so important. It's extremely important. And obviously, Felipe, you're an example of someone who was able to leverage networking and get yourself into to an amazing career at a fantastic company. So and you shared so much great advice. Now, Felipe, for those who want to maybe connect with you or maybe follow you, what is the best way for people who want to further network with you or even connect with you beyond this point?
Well, I would suggest that whoever is interested in connected with me, they can look for my name on LinkedIn, Felipe Toledo. We do also have the company website, the northprojectmanagers.ca. So over there, you also find my contacts. So, but those are the main tools that I use to connect with people who need help. My LinkedIn and my company's website.
Awesome, fantastic, Felipe. So, Felipe, hopefully you have a couple of minutes. We do have just one or two questions. Hopefully, you're okay with that.
Sure.
You're on time. Okay, perfect. Appreciate that. So we have my friend Sai who says for internship opportunities, as well as some companies are asking for 1 to 3 years of experience. In this kind of scenario, what would you suggest for a new graduate or a beginner? So I guess what he's saying, Felipe, is some job descriptions they say we want someone with 1 to 3 years of experience. How does a new graduate apply for such roles? Like any thoughts on this or any advice for him?
Yeah, my suggestion here is if even though the job description requires 1 to 3 years of experience, the most important thing is like try to find someone from that company. Try
Yeah.
to reach out to the recruiter or the hiring manager or someone who is doing that job currently on that company. So maybe you can find some not shortcuts over there, but some advice on how to land a job for that specific company. But once again, there is no recipe. We need to try as many strategies as we can.
Yeah.
So this is one of them. We can be proactive and we can try to reach out to them, because if it's a requirement and if you apply for that, it's 100% sure that you won't get anything because you don't have that 1 year or 3 years of experience, unless you do something else. And contacting the recruiters and people from companies, my first advice. And if you have a strong LinkedIn network, try to find someone in your network that works for that same company that you are looking for a job. That would be helpful as well.
Yeah, great advice there, Felipe. Definitely agree. Yeah, so Sai, I mean, don't stop at just a job description, because keep in mind, sometimes companies, they just have a repository of standard generic job descriptions they put out. So don't let the job description stop you. Now, if there's a huge disconnect, like if you're a new graduate and it says they're looking for someone with 8+ years of experience, maybe it's not the right one. You got to practice your judgment here. But yeah, if it says 1 to 3 years, definitely agree with Felipe's advice. So hope that answers your question, Sai. We got my friend Bola in the house. Bola, good to have you here always. Bola says, I just focus on the core experience and capabilities and value that I bring to the team and the company so much that we don't even bother talking about survival jobs. Cool stuff. Yeah. I mean, that's a good point, Bola. Yeah, definitely. And hey, folks, look, if you've been working a survival job for like a year, 2 years, if you are going to talk about it, definitely highlight the relevant stuff, right? If you have no choice but to talk about your survival jobs, then highlight the relevant stuff that's transferable to the position you're applying for, right? So, hey, Bola, thanks for sharing that. Definitely a good point. Alessandro says, thank you. Hey, no worries, Alessandro. Good to have you here. And thanks for helping me learn some Portuguese today. All right. We got Nanette. Nanette says, thank you for the practical advice, Felipe from Canada here. Nanette, good to have you here. Thanks so much for tuning in. We got Sai says, thank you very much, both of you. I'll get in touch with you through LinkedIn. Awesome. We got smiley faces from Alessandro. That's good. And Bola says, shout out to Felipe. Cool stuff. Awesome. Good to have you here, Bola. And hey, folks, thanks so much, everyone, for tuning in. And Felipe, thank you very much to you. You shared so much great information and advice from your journey. And I mean, I got so many great takeaways. And I'm pretty sure everyone in the audience who was tuning in got so much great takeaways as well. So thank you so much. And hey, folks, again, if you're a member of the Brazilian community here in Canada, reach out to Felipe for more information on how you can get involved in his amazing group he's created with now 500 members, the North Project Managers. It's a great group. And make sure also that if you're interested in any of the positions Felipe mentioned at a center, feel free to reach out to him directly for more information. We got another thank you here from Clara, who says, thank you. Hey, no worries, Clara. Thanks for tuning in. So again, thanks, everyone. Felipe, again, thanks so much. I really enjoyed the conversation. And
Thank you.
yeah, it was amazing having you here and so much great information. And I wish you the best and definitely look forward to hearing about more successes for your group, the North Project Managers, and all the great things that you folks do with the group.
Yeah, thank you for having me. It was really fun. I really like sharing my professional story here in Canada, and I look forward to having you once again in our group to help us with some tips.
Absolutely, I'm happy to do that as long as I get to learn more Portuguese.
I'll help you with that.
All right, sounds good. Thanks so much, Felipe. Hey, everyone, have a fantastic day. Keep pushing through in your job search, folks. Don't give up and stay on it. All right, everyone, have a fantastic week. Have a good day, everyone.